This is WLUW Chicago, 88.7 FM. And we have with us John Fournier. He is the tenor saxophonist at the Chicago Soul Jazz Collective. Welcome, John.
Hi, Trudy. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. Tell us a little bit about the song that we just played.
Town Called Mercy is a song I wrote years ago, and it's a song, a poem that means a lot to me. A Town Called Mercy is about sort of your path through life and the different things that might happen to you. And Dee Alexander is the vocalist on that, and she's obviously a wonderful singer. And so I love the way she interpreted the song. And the song was arranged by our producer on the record, whose name is Larry Brown Jr. But I really love how that song captured the lyric, and I really like the vibe of the song a lot.
And the story was the story about the town called Mercy?
Yeah, on the road to a town called Mercy. So a town called Mercy might be a metaphor for enlightenment, heaven to some people, perhaps nirvana, and the road to a town called Mercy is how you experience life. So when I first wrote the tune, there was like 10 verses, but obviously that was too many. So I just picked some of the ones I liked. But you meet a holy man, Robert Johnson. Religion and faith and the blues and sex and violence, all of the things that happen on the road to a town called Mercy is kind of what the song is about.
Okay. And you got Dee Alexander to sing the vocals. She's very good.
Yeah, Dee Alexander is a treasure, and just received the Mellon Foundation as one of the living legends of jazz. So she's really an important artist, and we're humbled and thrilled that she sings with us. And this is the second record now in a row that we've been lucky enough to have her sing with us.
So how did the collective come together? And then of course, how did you get Dee Alexander to join?
The way it came together was we started out in 2017, and it really started because I was having a period looking at the state of the world where I was really feeling a bit lost and a bit down about it all. And I started going back to my old record collection and listening to songs that I had really loved when I was a kid, songs that inspired me when I was 10, 11, 12, 13 years old. And I found that those records were soul jazz records. They were by Cannonball Adderley and Les McCann and Ramsey Lewis, and many others. And the Crusaders was another one I loved. And I realized that there was some kind of joy in these records. There was some kind of healing power to this kind of gospel blues influenced jazz that I just adored. So on a recording session with a trumpet player, I said, I'd really like to just start performing this. Really just because I thought playing it would be a healing process for us. It would be fun and we'd feel better, kind of thing. So I happened to have a club that was in Berwyn at the time. It has since closed. And they gave us a Wednesday night once a month to do this. And really it was a lark. We didn't think much of it. And we named ourselves and put a really nice group together and just started playing these soul jazz songs. And it must have hit a chord with people, because by the second time we played, it was packed. And it's been packed, now for 9 years. People come. We've been very fortunate in having a really nice, dedicated followers, people that really like it. But I think it's because at its essence, we're trying to make people feel better. We're trying to uplift. And I think that that's really something that people need right now. So that seems to be the key.
Yes. When the artists wrote the songs in the beginning and played the songs, maybe soul was also healing for them as well.
I would imagine, yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Since it's a kind of soul side of kind of gospel, there's church and faith.
Yes, absolutely, and that's a big part of our sound, and then just sort of the late night blues as well. So the other side of the coin, which is the naughty side of the coin, or whatever you want to say, but that exciting Chicago blues is in there as well, and Chicago jazz as well. We're trying to find that spot right in the middle, where with folk and jazz and all Chicago based and soul and blues. Mm-hmm. There is a spot right in the middle that we found kind of our turf, mm-hmm. and I think it's been a really exciting place to play music.
It's like the sweet spot.
Indeed, the sweet spot, yes, of Chicago music.
When you were feeling down in 2017, what was happening? Like maybe 2 or 3 things, just mention them briefly.
Well, I don't want to get too political, but I feel that the course that the country was setting itself on was really negative, and I think unfortunately we've watched that road get rougher and more difficult. So I don't want to go too far into that, but I don't think I think we need the healing music even more than we did then, because we're on a really rough path at the moment. I hope we can find our way out.
Mm. And when you were young and you were listening to this music, how were you then? Were you feeling down and the music made you feel better when you were young? Or you just enjoyed the music?
No, I was just excited about music, and and I was really fortunate that I lived in Chicago. So if back then, I'm not a young man, so back then there were these things called record stores, and you'd go into Rose Records, if I'm talking anyone's language here, or Tower Records, and if you're a little kid, there are the guys in the red vests, that have their name tag that work at the record store. But I discovered that if you go up to them and you say the right name to them, that they were like these encyclopedias of knowledge of the music, and they'd get really excited to show you all the different records. So if I went up and said, I heard this Ramsey Lewis track, like the In Crowd, they would then show me 10 different records of all these different artists that were similar and how they influenced each other, so it was like getting a little music history lesson in Rose Records as a little kid. So a lot of their records I got that way, just asking.
Mm-hmm. And so you learned a lot about music history then, but were you professionally trained, and did you go to school for music to play the way you play now?
Yeah, I was fortunate. I grew up in Oak Park, Illinois, and they really supported kids who like the arts, and jazz education and music education was certainly a big part of the curriculum at that time. I think it still is. And then I went to study music at the University of Miami in Florida. I got a undergrad in jazz performance and a graduate degree in education and composition. So I did a lot of time studying. Then I came back to Chicago and have been involved in the scene quite a bit for the last 20 years or so.
When did you start with the saxophone? When you were in high school?
No, it's the classic, the guy's name was Mr. Von Holst, and he was the band director, and he showed up, and said, hey, I'm going to teach band. I was in 4th grade, and he had all these different instruments. My older brother played the saxophone, so we had one in the house. But I was just really, it really was exciting to me to have the opportunity to play an instrument and be in the band. I hope that's something that we don't lose, because it can have a huge impact on people. It's something really beautiful that you can give to a kid, so.
And when you played the first time at that venue in Berwyn, the second time it was all packed. So
yeah.
The first time, how much was it occupied?
The first time we played?
Yes.
Maybe some family and friends, type of thing. And most bands, in Chicago, it's hard to get an audience. You're competing for people's attention. Most bands never get past that stage. I mean, many bands I've been in never get an audience. So it was really something to get to get an audience so effortlessly was something that I understood at the time was not usual. It was rare that people would be so invested in a group and the sound of the group. So it's one of those right thing at the right time, the right music at the right time in the right place. And if you do get one of those, it is a bit lightning in a bottle. So you want to stick with it, which we have.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you very likely hit a nerve with the audience with what you were feeling. What
Yeah.
about your collective mates, Chicago Soul Jazz Collective? Collective mates, did they feel the same as you, or were they just doing their own thing, collaborating with you and improvising as jazz artists do?
I think they enjoyed it. Some of them have been with me the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
Amr Fahmy is the piano player in the group. He's been with me for the whole time, and Keith Brooks has as well. He's the drummer. I think also, everybody in the band's really good and it plays at a really high level, but the music is fun to play, and it's fun to play for an excited audience. So I don't know if they were in the same place I was, emotionally, but certainly, everybody wants to be in a good band if you're a musician, and this was definitely a good band. So that's been the story there. But the other members are Micah Callier is the bass player, and Blue Neither is the trumpet player. He's wonderful. And Dee, we mentioned, and Larry Brown Jr. Had the biggest impact on this record. He is a guitarist on the record, obviously, but he arranged and produced it. And he's an absolute mega talent. If anybody wants to make a jazz record, I suggest you contact Larry Brown Jr. He'll make a beautiful one with you.
I like the art too. Where did that come from?
We commissioned an artist named Arthur Wright, who is a wonderful painter and artist here in Chicago, and we commissioned him to create a cover for us, and he made that. Arthur Wright is also someone that I highly recommend you check out. WRIGHT, Arthur Wright, because he has amazing work, and he's local, so you can, and he's still alive, right? Like a lot of artists pass on, but he's still with us, so you can still meet him and talk to him and see some of his work, because it's terrific and internationally acclaimed.
Yeah, it's like caricatures, right, of all your bandmates, and then you're against the moon, and then right over the city landscape.
Yeah, it's nice, isn't it?
Yes, and why is the CD called your album called No Wind and No Rain?
Like a lot of the kind of theme of the band is perseverance, I think, ultimately. But no wind and no rain means a couple things. It means no wind and no rain. If you listen to the record, the lyric is, nothing's going to stop me. We're going to keep going no matter what, which is, I think, a big part of the spirit of Chicago, Illinois, actually.
And that's track 4.
That is, yeah, if you would be so gracious as to play it, that'd be wonderful. But also, no wind and no rain is like, also can be the perfect Chicago day. And we get through a lot of weather in this town, you may be aware, and so on a day when there's no wind and no rain and the sky is blue and it's that you get that incredible feeling just from being in it. So that's kind of the two meanings of the title.
The first track we played was The Laughing Heart.
Right.
So tell us a little bit about why you wrote that. And what's the heart laughing about?
It's based on a poem by Charles Bukowski, and I'll read it to you, like it's short.
Sure.
It's called The Laughing Heart. Your life is your life. Don't let it be clubbed into dank submission. Be on the watch. There are ways out. There is a light somewhere. It may not be much light, but it beats the darkness. Be on the watch. The gods will offer you chances. Know them, take them. You can't beat death, but you can beat death in life sometimes. And the more often you learn to do it, the more light there will be. Your life is your life. Know it while you have it. You are marvelous. The gods wait to delight in you. a simple poem,
Mm-hmm.
but I liked what it was saying, and I just thought the words were really nice, so I named a song after it.
At what point in your life did you read this poem, discover this poem, and it affected you so deeply?
Well, Charles Bukowski is a pretty famous kind of character in American folklore. They made a film about him called Barfly back in the day, and I think that's how I got hip to him. Mickey Rourke movie called Barfly, and I was like, "What?" And it's about his life, and it's an okay movie, but then it did get me into his writing, which is really gritty and gripping and honest. I think the honesty of his writing and how it spoke to me the most. Um, you know, um, it's rare that you hear someone willing to be so honest about their feelings and are able to express them so eloquently so easily. So.
And was this around the same time, 2017, or was it earlier that you discovered this poem?
Oh, Bukowski? Yeah, much earlier. I mean, I was younger when so probably in my probably 30 years ago or something, I started reading Bukowski. But that poem has stuck with me because I read it and it just reminds me to stay in the moment, and to keep going.
It seems as if the last line, that the God's delight in you, that means that what you do that is really good, that shines, is the God or the God's doing the work through you.
Yes.
And is that why the heart is laughing?
Probably. It's up to anyone's interpretation, but I think the laughing heart is a way of saying, keep your heart, don't let it get darkened and damaged by how difficult the world can be. Keep your heart light, keep your spirit light, one day at a time. All those kind of hackneyed phrases that turn out to be really comforting and true when you're getting through the week, right?
So was that song in more of the major chords? The Laughing Heart?
Yes, yeah. That's it's got a lot of church in it, which is the band arrangement and Larry's arrangement. But yeah, uplifting. I mean, if you listen to it, it's a happy little tune. It brings you joy.
But then what about a town called Mercy? That's more of a more minor chords, right?
Absolutely, yeah. That's originally it was a minor blues, and we kind of rearranged it. But yes, and it's. Yeah, I thought that the minor tonality was closer to what the words were saying.
Mm-hmm.
I think it captured it better.
You mentioned that you try to incorporate elements of folk in your albums as well. So in this album, No Wind and No Rain, which of them have that folk element, and what kind of folk songs inspire you?
I would say "Message to a Child" would have that folk element, in just in the sense of the words are very simple. They can be understood quickly and universally, like a good folk song, and also the instrumentation. We get away from kind of the sound of the band, which is very kind of electric in essence, and electric guitar, electric piano. There's a lot of acoustic guitar on it, and it's funny, that's the track sort of worldwide that is being noticed the most. I think it's getting the most airplay. We are, I think this week we're number 22 on the jazz charts, something like that. So the record is getting heard a lot and played a lot around the world, which is a thrill. But that tune seems to be the one that comes back to us that's really resonating with people. There are others as well, but that one we hear about a lot, like, wow, that's really different and I really like it. And that has a lot of kind of these folk elements. There was a gentleman named Charles Stepney, who's an arranger, musician who worked in Chicago in the 70s. And he worked with Minnie Riperton, and he worked with Earth, Wind, and Fire. He was this brilliant arranger. And a lot of that song was kind of inspired by the work he did with Minnie Riperton in the early 70s.
So do you know if their work was inspired by folk as well?
I think it was. I think Terry Callier. I think in Chicago, the folk scene was huge in the 70s, as was the blues scene. as and as was the jazz. I think there was a label called Cadet Records, which was part of Chess Records, and if you listen to a lot of that catalog, which is enormous, in the early '70s, you hear all these different great, really Chicago artists developing their sound, and the different scenes that were happening were really alive at that time. So you would have the avant-garde jazz scene, you would have the folk scene, you would have the gospel, you would have the blues. They all influenced each other, So yeah, you hear those elements in those records. I fear that's something that we've lost. I don't hear it as much. The depth in a record, it's rare that I hear records that have the depth in terms of the influences. It's exciting when you get to hear them, but unfortunately, I think a bit of that is lost. That kind of intermingling of styles that was so welcome at that time on records.
So, in other words, right now, any intermingling is more on the surface rather than depth.
Yeah, I would say, I don't hear like if you listen to an Earth, Wind and Fire record, even from the mid '70s, you hear all those things in the record. You hear all those influences and how good those. Obviously, they were one of the best ever, but you can hear how it influenced them. Hopefully, you can hear that in our record. I don't hear records where I can hear the influences of folk and blues and gospel as much. It seems to be we do this one thing and that's what we do type thing. So I guess it's hard to describe, but.
Were there any folk artists particularly that influenced you more?
Me personally, I guess, the usual ones, Bob Dylan, for sure, and Lead Belly and Pete Seeger. I love the melodies, the way that they could have really cool poetry, but that it was so evocative that people would really latch onto it. I like the appeal and the instant appeal of it. Even if the lyric was kind of dense. I'm just talking about words now. I like how it would be, how it could mean so much and get to you so deeply. To be so moving type thing. If that makes sense.
Sometimes singers or performers, once they start performing, like in 1 or 2 seconds, like singers, they open their mouth and then they're good because it's like the first note they get into it. What about the music and songs? Is there like some songs that are written so well that you just start reading it and that there's something more to it that like moves you?
Yeah, great. Every great song has that, and that could be any style, I suppose. But any great song, you have music and the way the music and the lyrics intermingle. I don't know. There's something about it that is magical, right? It's why people dedicate their lives to music. There is magic in music that I think human beings can't really describe in words, but it does seem to do something to us that is this special, wondrous thing, that makes being alive so worthwhile.
The music of the spheres?
Yeah. Yes. I mean, I'm a very spiritual person, so yes, I would describe it that way. I don't know what it is when I hear any song, anything from Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds to, The In Crowd to, Better Get Hit in Your Soul by Charles Mingus, anything. It's just amazing how, even if I've heard it a billion times, I get chills, just in the first few notes because it's so good.
So when you were writing a lot of the songs for this album, were there any of the songs that kind of hit you in that same way as you started writing it, and then they kind of wrote themselves, and you felt that it was really touching, very deep?
Yeah, I would say the ones that Dee sings for sure. Message to a Child, On the Way to Be Free, No Wind and No Rain, A Town Called Mercy. All of those, because I write a lot, and when I bring a lot of material to the group, most of it gets, doesn't really go over with them. They don't really want to plunge into the composition. It doesn't move them as much. So when I get one that moves them, it's really exciting because they're really into it. Those 4 tunes I seem to be communicating something through the lyric that was deep, like a song like Message to a Child, it just kind of came out. I have children, obviously, and I'm a teacher. I work with kids. No Wind and No Rain was another one where it just seemed to pour out of me easily. There was no, the lyrics, the best lyrics don't seem to take a lot of time for me to write. They just kind of come out.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And did they change much in the recording session and as you played with the rest of the collective?
The songs did, like the arrangements and things. The actual lyrics, not too much. But the songs, kind of how the songs were arranged, mostly with Larry kind of leading that. But how the songs were arranged, and how the record was produced, how it sounded, was definitely changed. But the lyrics, not so much.
When you're playing now in the venues, are you playing mostly these tunes or a range of tunes?
We play songs from the last 2 records. So the last one we made was called On the Way to Be Free. We play songs from that. And then on this record, we play most of it. So if you come see us, we'll be at Winters on July 3rd and July 4th. Get your tickets now. And we're playing at Fitzgerald's at the American Music Festival on July 5th. This is a really nice live band. So we're very fortunate we get to work a lot. And so we're out all the time. So you can go to our website, chicagosouljazzcollective.com, and there's a calendar there with everywhere we're playing, and also you can hear the records and read the articles about us and things like that.
This is WLUW 88.7 FM, Chicago Sound Alliance, broadcasting live from the Water Tower campus of Loyola University. You teach too, so you say you work with kids. Do you teach music?
I do. I'm a music teacher,
Uh-huh.
and I love it. And I've been teaching for years, and I teach privately, and I teach classroom, and I have a little youth choir. It's great. It's a great way to share music.
Remember, there's like this Chicago Community Chorus. Have you ever worked with them?
I haven't. I work in a school district in Brookfield.
Oh.
I teach at a elementary school there. So my choirs are the kids at the school, and then I have private students as well.
So, did you teach them as you learned in when you were young? How do you figure what works and what doesn't?
Yeah, there's not. The actual teaching of music hasn't changed that much. You get the kids singing, you find things they're interested in, then you try to influence them, with as much interesting music as you can, and you can tell, if I have, let's say 400 students or something in a couple of weeks, the ones where it's really resonating with them, who really love it, you can tell who they are, and you can get them involved in different instruments and things like that. So it's just a nice way to inspire a new generation, and I love teaching.
Do you see their faces light up when they're singing, or
Yes.
how could you tell?
No, yeah, it's the greatest thing in the world when the kids are enjoying it, so yes.
What kind of songs do kids enjoy singing now?
It's funny, they tend to get the old songs through film and television. The newer songs, it just doesn't seem to resonate with them as much as when you hear songs from the 60s, 70s, and 80s even, so a lot of times there'll be a song that they resurrect in a TV show or one of the Pixar movies or something, and the kids will just go crazy for it. And I'll be like, yeah, it's a well-written song. It's a song that, that's been around a long time. And a lot of the songs now, there's exceptions, obviously. There was a song called Happy by Pharrell Williams that the kids loved years ago. there are modern songs that can really speak to children, but a lot of them don't. And the kids really like it when they hear older music. They don't know it's older music. They just like it because they're kids. They just respond to what they like. So, old Beatles songs or, any kind of great pop songs from back in the day, tends to get them going.
What about when you were young? Did you like listening to old songs more or the current hits?
Well, I came up in a period of time called the 1970s and 80s. I just loved music, so I was always mining for the good stuff, and there was always good stuff, and there was always stuff that was kind of, bubblegum, kind of trite, and you usually would kind of fade away. But I just loved music. I was constantly searching for new things to hear, and I would find the same emotion that I was looking for in different styles, which was interesting. I would listen to A Love Supreme by John Coltrane and feel amazing, and then I'd listen to Paul Westerberg and the Replacements and feel something quite similar. It wasn't stylistic. It was more searching for the emotion. And that emotion was everywhere. In all the good stuff, there's the emotion.
Mm. Is that maybe how you instill the emotion in your songs? Is that why you might have hit it off with your audience?
I guess so. Yeah. I mean, I don't want to jinx it and figure out why it's happening, but the songs resonate with people, and I think that's probably why. The same reason that songs resonated with me, you try to recreate that for other people, I guess.
And when did you? I think you kind of answered it before, but when did you start playing the saxophone, and what instrument did you play before?
I had a pretty standard, sort of middle class suburban upbringing. I had lovely parents who were very supportive of whatever we wanted to do. My older brother was a musician, so I think I started piano lessons when I was like 6 years old. And music was just around my house quite a bit, and so then in fourth grade I started the saxophone, and really I really enjoy poetry and theater and journalism and books and things, but really I haven't veered from the initial inspiration of music and music education much my whole life. I mean, that's really been my story from that early age.
Did they have like a smaller saxophone for you? Because at 4 years old, you're kind of tiny.
No. At 6, I played piano, and then fourth grade.
Fourth
So
grade.
what am
Okay.
I? What am I in fourth grade? 9, maybe.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think so.
So they have this. Yeah. I mean, I think it probably looked huge on me, but most kids start in fourth grade. So that's when you start blowing into it.
And when was the breakthrough when you finally learned how to breathe and use it properly?
Well,
How long did it take you?
I'm still waiting on the breakthrough, Trudy. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know. I was someone who was very fortunate that I took to it quickly, and that was noticed. Like the band director noticed that I was getting really good really fast and would encourage me and put me in groups with older people and things like that. So it was just something that came to me, like a lot of musicians would say this. In a room full of kids, I just seem to be good at this. It's like anybody. If you're all playing basketball, there's a kid that's way better than everybody else. Tends to want to be on the basketball team. And I seem to be really more into it and more adept at the instruments in the rooms of kids I was with, and so I just pursued it really hard.
It sounds like you were able to capture the spirit of the music and the instrument, and did that make you less self-conscious? Like when you performed, was there less stage fright for you since you were just so part of the instrument, part of the music?
Yeah, I've never really had a lot of stage fright or anxiety about performance. You know, I find that if I'm with musicians that are as dedicated to it as I am, no matter how we're going over, or how many people we are playing for or not playing for or whatever, I find that as long as what we're doing on stage, everybody's, you know, really giving it their all, and they've all put the time in to try to create something, you know, I feel really good about the experience. You know, when I'm with people that are don't take music seriously, that you know, are kind of thumbing their nose at the experience, and they're still performing, you know, that can be difficult. And I've been in that experience in front of thousands of people, and you know, and and had a horrible time. And I've been in experiences where we played for 5 people, and I've had a tremendous time. So it isn't as much to do about the audience as it is the guys on stage, the ladies on stage with me, and what we're doing. You know, that's what matters to me.
So I guess it seems as if what you're doing on stage is and with the people that you're working with, uh, that's what's affecting the audience. So that's the core.
I would say, yeah, yes, and I don't know if we'd be playing as often, but if nobody liked the Chicago Soul Jazz Collective and we were playing for our friends and family and no one else, we'd still be playing. And the reason is because we love to play, and it makes us feel great. So we're just fortunate that people like it, you know, and that it is succeeding. But you know, I think what I'm trying to say is that's not why we did it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we did it because we really wanted to play together and make this music together, and you do end up kind of creating this family of musicians, you know, of people who are along for the ride. It's a journey, and the journey is really the cool part.
Mm-hmm. It's like life, but there's a life itself, and then there's your music life.
Yes, yes, and the music life makes the other life, the difficulties of the other life, a bit easier, I think.
More bearable.
Yeah.
So when your bandmates, your collective mates, feel like some of the songs they don't like, do they do you feel the same way? You kind of like are you ever surprised about their decisions, or you in your gut you knew that that one wasn't that good?
No, no, I think they're all great. It's funny. No, you know, it's more about, I think it has to really resonate with them, you know, and get them excited to perform it, because we perform these songs a lot. So yeah, I mean, some of them I'm like, oh, that wasn't so bad, you know. But if you're going to write for people, and you have to be willing to accept. If you want it to be, you know, as great as it can be, you have to be open to criticism, and you have to be open to people, you know, kind of helping you shape it, you know, because we're doing it together. I know it says I wrote the songs, but really, if you watch the whole process, it's very much a group process. It's not me dictating, which would get nowhere near the same results. It's very much the group kind of working together and coming up with ideas, and then Larry is kind of the captain of the ship as far as of this set of songs. Like, you know, someone has to be, you know, in any group or any organization, you have to have roles, you know, and everybody has to be comfortable in their role, and everybody has to kind of, you know, be comfortable participating. But somebody at some point has to be like, okay, this is the sandwich. This is what's on the sandwich. You know, this is how we're going to cut the sandwich. I mean, someone kind of has to organize, you know. And for us on this record, it was Larry.
Mm-hmm. And the whole is greater than its parts.
Yes, that's for sure.
Were there any songs that they didn't want to play, but then you revisited them, and then maybe believed in it, and then changed it a bit, and then finally later somehow they accepted it?
No, but I hope on the next record. Hope springs eternal, Trudy.
What about the world? Did you ever travel the world performing?
Yeah, I've done some. I mean, I'd like to do more. One of the goals of this group, you know, I mean, as opposed to, you know, thinking, oh, let's just be the the biggest act in the world or something. I try to set goals that are reasonable, right? So one of the goals was to be a headliner at Chicago Jazz Fest, which we did. Other goals are to play in these certain nightclubs or things like that. So one of the goals for the band moving forward is I'd like to tour Europe and some of the world with this group playing this music. So that's kind of what we're setting about. And the Jazz Blues European Union, which is in Europe, this is the arts are underwritten by the government. The government supports artists there. The jazzblues.eu has been incredibly supportive of this record and gave us a rave review. And if you go to their website, jazzblues.eu, they are, we're talking with them about playing festivals. They have like 187 jazz and blues festivals in Europe. So we're talking with them now about going over there and playing.
It seems as if they're supportive because a lot of times artists don't make enough money, and then they probably feel that music is important to their society. It helps improve the community, the society. So they're willing to spend that extra money to support the artists.
Agreed. Yeah, it's something that is lacking in this country, unfortunately.
What about your previous albums? Have you ever played in Europe before?
No, not with this group. So, it's just something we'd like to do.
But you've traveled there and then listened to the music scenes in other countries.
Yeah.
Okay, so what about Chicago jazz, Chicago blues? Does the Chicago Soul Jazz Collective have that sound? Does it have that sound that you feel that is part of that? And how does Chicago soul and jazz differ from, let's say, European soul and jazz?
Well, Chicago has been, you could name all the artists that have come up through Chicago from. Well, there's too many really, yes. But at some point you have to kind of, if you're going to have a group sound, you have to focus on, it's like this enormous subject, and you have to start to focus on, small parts of it so that you can, you can get lost in how much there is, So if you just say Chicago blues, Chicago gospel, Chicago soul, Chicago jazz, that's a lifetime of study just to scratch the surface of all the great stuff that has happened here. I would say there's something about Chicago that has created a sound that is its own, and we try to honor that, while still, following our own muse. But for this record, as I talked about before, there was a label called Cadet Records, which was part of Chess Records, and they were making really interesting music from like the late 60s through maybe 1976. And they were recording a lot of Chicago artists and discovering a lot of that music. And the way they presented it, Terry Callier is an artist that we really like. Oscar Brown Jr. is another one. Let's see, who else? Charles Stepney is the arranger. I talked about him before. Minnie Riperton. The way that it was presented and packaged in the early 1970s through Cadet Records is, I think, the backbone of where we're at right now. And I think that's the part of the Chicago music history that we're most comfortable, I don't know, emulating is the word, but being inspired by.
Mm-hmm. So Cadet Records, what kind of music did they produce?
It was one of the sons of the Chess brothers, and Chess Records is, of course, the kind of classic Chicago blues. The great Chicago blues label is Chess Records. But Chess Records was still hanging around as music was changing in the 60s and 70s. So Cadet Records was recording a lot of just straight up jazz records, but it was also getting more experimental. Like the Rotary Connection, for example, was a band that Minnie Riperton was the singer for that group, and I Am the Black Gold of the Sun is their kind of well-known song. But it's really interesting music, really well produced, and an interesting combination of styles that we were talking about, So Ramsey Lewis was on that label. The beginnings of Earth, Wind, and Fire came through that label. It just seems to it seemed to touch on the center of the styles of music that we were talking about, where all the scenes kind of coalesced, and there were artists that were able to make these records that I think are still fantastic. If you just go through the catalog of Cadet Records, maybe it's on Spotify now or something, you find all this beautiful stuff.
When in 2017, you said that the political situation in the world affected you, and then started you in this, and which ended into which culminated into your Chicago Soul Jazz Collective. However, what about in the 60s, 70s? Was there something at that time too? Was it maybe the Vietnam War, or was it poverty, or what was it that was coalescing the music toward that field?
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I mean, obviously, I was not around at that time, so I wasn't a musician in the late 60s. I wasn't anything in the late 60s.
But you were listening, and you were listening good.
Yeah. So yeah, I was going back and hearing records that had been made, not when they initially came out, but later.
Yes.
But yeah, I would say there was something happening, as always has been happening in this country, out of the most difficult things comes communities that create beautiful things. I mean, I don't want to get too deep into it, but so yeah, I think out of the struggles of the country, come people that are sensitive people who are inspired by it, and that comes beautiful music. I mean, I think that's kind of the sub-history of our country, is that, of all the things we've done that were great and all the things that we've done that were horrible, the musicians have documented it.
Are you writing songs constantly? Do you have a system? Do you have like your phone on hand when something comes to you, and then you record? What's your creative like?
Yeah. Yes. Writing all the time. Yeah. And trying to organize songs. So yes, I'm writing all the time. And the nice thing is, if you have a whole bunch of things to bring to a group that's like the Chicago Soul Jazz Collective, there's always some gems in there that they find. So, but yeah, I'm always it makes me feel better, honestly, and I do it for myself, and and you would think you'd hang it up at some point. I don't know. Frank Zappa had this great quote, which has always led me on, which is, if you want to be a musician, there's 2 rules. Rule number 1, don't stop. Rule number 2, keep going. That's, I mean, because it's almost like an absurd thing to organize sound and in this world, for a living. You're just putting things into the sound waves out into the world. It's not really, it's not like you're building a cabinet or something like that, So it is kind of I don't know, it's almost like a absurdly optimistic way to live, that somehow I'm going to do this thing I love so much, and I'm somehow going to survive anyway. I don't know. It's just absurdly optimistic, which I like that about it.
What about when you write poetry? Do you always try to find music in that poetry, or do you sometimes just write the poem for the poetry itself, maybe publish some of the poetry, or just read it to your friends?
No, I mean, I just get so that's where I would get self-conscious, is just reading it. Somehow when you put it to a song, it's no, but I don't mind it. But yeah, when if I yeah, if I was just reading poetry, I'd feel so silly. I don't know. It's funny that no one's ever asked me that one, but I would just feel so strange just saying the words. When you put them in a song, for some reason, it's okay.
What about you when you write something and that work is still in its infancy? Whom do you go to as a sounding board? To the Chicago Soul Jazz Collective, your bandmates, or do you try it with your family and friends?
Um, I write it and I try to get it to a point where I can present it, and then yeah, I bring it to musicians. I have like different groups and things, and what do you think of this one? And I've had, fortunately, I've had some success writing. So it's not devastating if people don't like it. And also that's good because you don't feel inhibited. You just like, okay, I hear this, so you write it, and then you see what people think. The nicest thing about collaborating, and I've done solo stuff, which is harder, but when you're collaborating, you're just opening yourself up to other people's ears, and you get great results. And if you can get past your ego and your feelings, and just be open, if you're with really good people, you get really good results. So.
I know that there are writing groups because I'm in one of them, but are there musician writing groups?
I don't know. I mean, musicians. If you get, the nice thing about writing music is, a lot of people, they love the experience of writing songs, and maybe they're not even good. Maybe they learn three chords on a guitar, or they learn a couple of chords on a piano, and then they're just writing because they really want that experience. Um, so I know if you just want to write songs, there's songwriting classes and teachers and people that you can work with, and it's not that hard to enter that world, because get a guitar and learn three chords and start writing, start singing something. It'll make you feel better, that's for sure.
What about you teach music? Have you ever taught about songwriting?
I I find the best way to teach songwriting is the way most people learn, which is learn a lot of songs. If you want to be a songwriter, um, it's a difficult thing to teach, because I don't know. It's like this indefinable. Once again, it's the magic. I mean, you know, a lot of guys are using the same instruments and they're using the same chords, and the same ideas. But like John Lennon could write a song and it's like magical. Like sparks come off this thing and people listen to it for decades. And another guy could use the same chords, same themes, and it doesn't resonate at all. But if you look at just the essence of what they've done, it's similar. There's a melody and there's chords and they're not that different from each other, and there's words, and so there's this thing, and when you're with a songwriter who's really got that thing, that magical thing, it's a remarkable to behold, but it's a pretty rare to find. So when I'm working with someone, if they want to write songs, I first say, what songs do you like? And they'll say some artists, and I'll say, learn all their songs. Learn all the chords, learn all the melodies, because the nuances of how that person creates, you'll start to get that in your DNA. You'll get that in your spirit and in your songs. It'll come back out. Bob Dylan learned 3,000 songs before he wrote one. The Beatles were playing other people's songs in Hamburg for 8 hours a night or whatever it was. I mean, this is just, you can tell when people have done the homework, and have learned a million songs, because you can hear it in their songs and you can hear it in their arrangements and things. the depth of how much they've learned and how hard they've worked. I don't hear that a lot in some of the pop artists that I listen to. I don't hear depth. I don't hear that they've listened to a lot. I don't hear that they've worked that hard. They've just got sort of a catchy little melody and they sing it, which is fine. But I think there's more to it than that, and I think they would enjoy it if they pursued it.
When you're writing songs, and during that experience and process, does it do the best songs involve you shaping them and forming them, or the best songs are practically already written, like already there, and then you just have to touch up on it?
For this record, the part of the song that I did came really easily, like Message to a Child or No Wind and No Rain. But then the group took it and added all kinds of arrangement and ideas to it. So the essential song, like I could sit at a piano and just say, well, this is what I wrote. And you'd be like, oh, that sounds like the song. And then listen to the arrangement and how they approached it and what they did with it. So that's kind of the process that we went through on this record. You could play some examples, Message to a Child or No Wind and No Rain, On the Way to Be Free. Those would be good examples of that, where I had a song that I sang to them, gave them the chords, and then they went to work, with me, but together we kind of shaped it into what it became.
And what about your recording sessions? What were they like? Was it like just on the first take, or what was it like? How many days did it take you?
We did a lot more production on this record than we have in the past. We went into a studio and cut live, so everybody played live, and we cut a bunch of tracks, and then we took the live ones that we liked. We went to a second studio where we did pretty extensive overdubs and adding things and adding vocals, and then we went to a third step, which was a post-production step with this gentleman named Aaron Day, who's a local producer, guitar player, who's also remarkable, and he added a lot of sort of cinematic touches, and he kind of beefed up the production and post-production. So this record was much more elaborate in terms of production than what we've done before.
So in other words, your previous records were just like a session that got recorded and it was done.
Yeah, the first record we made, we cut in maybe 3 hours.
Oh.
The whole thing, and that record actually was the most successful that we've made. So that's funny. But as we've gone on, this is our fourth record. With each record, we get more, sort of more interested in arrangements and production, and realizing something that we love playing live, and we're a great live act. I'm very proud of that. But the studio is a different animal, and you want to create recordings that can really capture people for a long time.
Is it that because every time you record, you're learning too? Everybody in the collective learns a little bit something new, and then maybe a lot of things new, and then maybe in the next album you want to apply what you learned. And does that make more arrangements and more of the studio use, because you know more about the studio now?
Yeah, probably. I mean, also the guys in the group record a lot with all different kinds of people. So everybody has a wealth of experience and know-how. It's just focusing it and trying to come up with a group sound that we like. And I think with this record, we really did succeed with that. I'm very proud of this record.
And you would say that every song on this record has that group sound?
Yes,
okay.
For sure.
All right. John Fournier, the tenor saxophonist at the Chicago Soul Jazz Collective. If our listeners want to learn more about the Chicago Soul Jazz Collective and more about No Wind and No Rain, where should they go?
ChicagoSoulJazzCollective.com will get you to all things Chicago Soul Jazz Collective. You can also just go buy the record on Bandcamp. We'd love that. We have albums and CDs and digital downloads. We perform a lot. July 3rd and 4th, we are performing at Winter's Jazz Club. And on July 5th, we are performing at Fitzgerald's at the American Music Festival. So all of that information's on our website. Photos of us, interviews, videos, all things Chicago Soul Jazz Collective can be found there. So go to ChicagoSoulJazzCollective.com and drop me a line, through the website if you have any questions or any ideas.
Okay, thank you so much, John Fournier. And we'll play